Welcome to Verified Terror, where fear isn't just a feeling, it's a fact. Here, we bring you real stories of terror, verified by those who lived through them. Encounters that defy explanation, whispers in the dark, shadows at the edge of your vision, the moments when the ordinary turns into something unthinkable. Tonight you'll hear 5 chilling stories shared by real people, about real horrors they can't forget. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and remember, if you feel like you're being watched while you listen, maybe you are. Welcome to the darkness. Welcome to Verified Terror. Story 1. The house at the end of the Lanathirs. A house at the very end of my grandmother's street. For as long as I can remember, it has stood there abandoned, silent, sagging under the weight of decades. As a child, I was told to never go near it. My cousins and I called it the Whisper House, because when the wind blew through its broken windows, it sounded like people murmuring inside. One summer, curiosity got the better of me. I was 14. I told my cousins I was going to spend the night there. They dared me to last until sunrise. I packed a flashlight, a sandwich, and my bravado, and snuck out after dark. There around the house was different, heavy, cold. Even though it was July, I climbed the creaky steps, opened the door, and stepped inside. Dust choked the air. The smell of damp wood and rot was overwhelming. But the strangest thing was how quiet it was. Utterly still. Except for the faint sound of whispering. I explored the ground floor, an empty living room, wallpaper peeling off, a broken chair. Then I found the staircase. Something about it made my stomach twist, but I climbed it anyway. Upstairs, the air was colder. I found a bedroom with a cracked mirror. In the mirror, I could see myself and something else. A figure stood behind me, tall, shadowy. Its hand was reaching toward my shoulder. I spun around. Nothing. But the whispering got louder. Get out. I froze. The door behind me slammed shut on its own. I ran down the stairs, through the hallway, but the front door was gone. In its place was just a solid wall of rotting wood. The whispers turned into screams. I banged on the wall, frantic, until it gave way and I fell outside flat onto the grass. When I turned around, the house was dark and still again. My cousins later swore they saw the curtains move that night, as though someone was watching them. Story 2. The man in the field. He grew up in a rural town, surrounded by endless fields of corn. Everyone knew about the man in the field. Farmers said he was just a scarecrow, but children said he moved when no one was looking. One autumn evening, walking home from a friend's house, I decided to cut through the fields. The sky was already dark, and the moon hung low. That's when I saw him, a figure standing perfectly still among the stalks. He was tall, dressed in rags, with a wide-brimmed hat shadowing his face. I laughed to myself. It was just a scarecrow. But as I walked past, the faint sound of footsteps followed me. I stopped. So did the footsteps. I turned. The scarecrow was closer. I could see his hat now, and the faint outline of his hands long. Bony fingers curled at his sides. My chest tightened. I ran. Corn stalks whipped against my arms as I bolted toward the road. But no matter how far I ran, the sound of footsteps stayed behind me, slow, deliberate. When I finally reached the edge of the field, I turned to look. The field was empty. But the next morning, when my father went to check on his crops, he found deep footprints all through the field leading straight to our house. Story 3. The woman in the window moved into that apartment on a chilly December day. It was on the 4th floor, with a window that looked out over the city. But at night, the window felt strange. The first night, as I was unpacking, I caught a glimpse of a woman in the glass. Not outside, not inside, but in the reflection. She wore a white dress and stood completely still, her eyes fixed on mine. I whipped around. Nothing. When I looked back at the window, she was gone. Over the next few weeks, she appeared more often, always at night, always in the window. Sometimes her hands would press against the glass, leaving faint, foggy prints. Once, I woke to the sound of tapping. She was outside the window, on the 4th floor. I moved to another room that night, but in the morning, I found faint wet footprints leading from the window to my bed. Story 4. The laughing thing in the woods. Me friends and I used to go camping in the woods behind my childhood home. We tell ghost stories by the fire, roast marshmallows, and sleep under the stars. But one night, we heard something that wasn't part of any story. It started with laughter, a faint chuckle. Somewhere in the trees. We froze. "Who's there?" my friend called. No answer. Just another laugh, closer this time. We packed up to leave, but the path back home seemed longer than before. The laughter followed us, echoing from all directions. At one point, I turned around and saw it, something tall and pale, with a grin that stretched to wide. Its eyes glowed faintly, and it moved from tree to tree faster than we could run. We didn't stop until we were back in my yard. When I looked back at the tree line, it was still there, watching. Story 5. The visitor at 3 a.m. asked us. They say nothing good happens at 3 a.m., and I believe it now. That night, I was alone in my apartment, scrolling through my phone when the doorbell rang. 3:03 a.m. I froze. Who would visit at this hour? Against my better judgment, I went to the door and peeked through the peephole. A man stood there. He wore a dark suit, but his face was wrong. His smile was too wide, his eyes too dark. He tilted his head and said, "Let me in." I backed away. He knocked again, harder this time. "I know you're in there," he whispered. The knocking turned into pounding. Then silence. When I finally dared to look again, he was gone. But on the door, scratched into the wood, were 3 words: "See you soon." You've just heard 5 stories of real terror, stories whispered from the shadows, stories that refuse to be forgotten. Which one chilled you the most? Let me know in the comments below, if you're brave enough, and if you have a story of your own, something strange you've seen, heard, or felt in the dark. Share it. Here at Verified Terror, your nightmares have a home. If you enjoyed tonight's journey into the unknown, don't forget to like the video. It tells the darkness you're watching. And subscribe to Verified Terror for more true horror stories, verified. Just for you. Until next time, sleep well. If you can. Thank you for watching.